Welcome to Kidmissing TV. I have the case of two Jane Does from Riverside, California, in the town of Perris, in the neighborhood of Meadowbrook, Perris, California. I actually had family in Perris, California, so that caught my attention. There were two African American women found on July 15th, 1969. Perris is near Lake Elsinore. It's in the Bay Area. One was 25 to 30 years old, and one was 17 to 24 years old. One had drugs in her system, and one did not. And they didn't say which was which. They were found at a structure fire, but they didn't die in the fire. They're not sure exactly what their causes of death were. They died about a half an hour prior to the police arriving on the scene. They have dentals, but they don't have DNA or fingerprints. Obviously, they don't have fingerprints, but you'd think they could exhume them and get DNA unless they cremated them. Now, it is my understanding from what I've read on the case that they were murdered, most likely. Don't know how, because they did not overdose. The younger woman is described as follows: age 17 to 21 years, 5'3", 110 pounds. I don't have any distinguishing marks because of the fire. And her clothing was destroyed. Two suspects had been identified in the crime, and it was believed that they transported the women from Los Angeles. That's a long way. The second victim has been described as 25 to 30 years old, 5'2", 125 pounds. And again, same thing. Clothing destroyed, fingerprints destroyed. Two suspects have been identified. Now, it just says burning structure. It doesn't say house, although I thought I read somewhere it was a house. I'm wondering that too. Someone wondered if abducting the younger victim was the primary goal and the older victim was just there, so they took her too. Keep her quiet, so she didn't go tell someone that the younger victim had been taken. It would be interesting if they could get DNA to see if the two women were related to each other. They can't be mother and daughter, they're too close in age. But they could be sisters, they could be cousins. There's a chance they could be aunt and niece. Because, remember, when people had big families, sometimes the mom's last babies would overlap with the oldest child's first babies. The mom's last baby would sometimes overlap with the first child's first babies. So when you consider that they were born in, see, the oldest one would have been born approximately between, see, she was, hold on, let me make sure I get the age correct so that I get the math correct. Where the heck did it go? I think it's on the first page. 25 to 30. Okay, so she's 30 years old, 1969. She was born between 1939 and 1944. Certainly a time period when she could easily be the other girl's aunt. Like I said, there was overlap in those days. And the other girl, who was 17 to 21, let's see, 17, well, 10 would be 59, 58, 57, 56, 55, 12. So anywhere between, so that would be 53, and 4 years before that. And 1940, so 1949 to 1953 approximately. Sorry, I'm not Crime Hound. I can't do this that quickly, but I have to sit here and do the math. Anyway, so keeping that in mind, it could be aunt and niece. Coroner's report, even though it states that they died about 30 minutes before, it seems the older victim may have died up to 12 hours before the fire, and the younger victim died in the fire. I don't know. Now, if you have any information in this case, you can contact, I have a couple of numbers for you here. Yeah. The coroner and the Department of Justice Missing Persons Hotline. Okay. The Riverside County Sheriff Coroner Bureau at 951-443-2300. That's 951-443-2300. Or the California Department of Justice Missing Persons Hotline, 1-800-222-FIND. That's 1-800-222-FIND, which is 1-800-222-3463. 1-800-222-3463. I don't think there are drawings of these ladies. If there are, I will, of course, make a poster. If there isn't, I don't have anything to make a poster with. I find it very sad. I am wondering if the older one might have overdosed. And maybe not by accident. Maybe the people that took them gave her the drugs, you know what I mean? So, that's what I'm wondering about. So, to kill her, you know what I mean? It's been done. And ODs back then weren't as common. Intentional or accidental. So because the biggest drug that people used back in that time period was pot. I know people were using like acid and stuff in the 60s. I do get that. But it wasn't really coke or heroin during that time period that people were using. So so that would be an unusual finding, a bunch of drugs in her system. Well, what drugs? This was 1969. People weren't doing coke, they weren't doing heroin. I suppose she could have been smoking opium. I mean, I'm just trying, which is a derivative. Actually, heroin's a derivative of that. But I just don't know. Help me out here if you're older and you were around in that time period. I'm not saying you were doing anything. I'm saying if you were around in that time period and you know a kind of illegal extracurricular activity was going on during that time period, aside from pot and acid. I've never heard of anybody die from too much acid. Acid's terrible, don't get me wrong. And I know people hallucinate on it, and they can end up staying in that state and having a complete mental breakdown. I get that. But I've never heard of anybody dying from it. And absolutely no one's ever died from overdosing on pot. It's not even possible. So, you can get good and sick, but you're not going to die from pot. You're more likely to die from alcohol. They said drugs, although alcohol technically is a drug. It acts in your body just like a drug. It alters you just like a drug. It affects the health of organs just like a drug. It is addictive just like a drug. It is a drug. And so anyway, I don't know. I just think that I am going to look into the coroner's report. Hold on. I noticed there was a link to it in my research, and I am going to take a peek while I have you guys. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pause you guys and I'm going to take a peek at the coroner's report, and I'll be right back. Hey guys. Okay. I went and looked. I couldn't find it. The only thing I did find were a couple of sketches that were absolutely horrible. So there will not be a poster because I will not use those sketches. They're supposed to be young black women. The sketches look like elderly white women. They're horrible. Not acceptable. So I won't be using those. Anyway. Yeah, I couldn't find the name of the drugs or anything like that. Couldn't find the coroner's report. I found the police report, which didn't shed any more light than I already gave you, which I hadn't found before. Then I couldn't even find where I got my information that I printed. So, but I take it, if the police report doesn't say any more, then the coroner's report didn't either. Usually they list out the drugs, but I mean, it could have been pills back then, I suppose. I mean, I'm grasping at straws here because there's no help. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me. Please call those numbers if you have any information at all. I appeal to my family in Northern California that's still in Concord. Share this. I know you're not from there originally, but you know a lot of people there. So share this on your Facebook. I will share it to mine so that my family in Concord sees it, and hopefully so. Thank you for taking this journey with me. I will see you Monday for the case of 13-year-old John Landos, who has been missing for 30 years. So I hope you'll join me for that case on Monday. Have a wonderful weekend. Be safe. Go Pats. And I'm going to watch the opening ceremonies of the Winter Olympic Games. Probably watch it later because I have to go with my aide. But the Parade of Nations. I think I'm going to grab a notebook and write down the nations as they come out. And they will come out in alphabetical order this time because they use the same alphabet we do. In Asia, they come out in some weird, wacky orders because of how their system, what looks like weird, wacky order for us because of their system of characters rather than the alphabet. So cannot wait. Thank you so much for being here. God bless you. Have a wonderful weekend. Like I said, stay safe at those Super Bowl parties. Bye, guys. God bless you. Please subscribe. Thank you so much.